Hey, Al. So I wanted to do something a little bit differently. I actually just got back from the gym not too long ago, and I was trying to find something to eat, and I realized I needed to get some protein in, and I forgot that I got this ramen, and you've probably seen it on social media. It's called IMMI or IMMI. I assume it's IMMI. Um, but I bought this. I actually bought the variety. Let me see what it's called. I bought the Variety Volume 1 six pack. And in it, it came with the black garlic chicken, the tom yum shrimp, and this one right here, which is the spicy beef. Now, I've tried the spicy beef before, and I've tried the black garlic chicken. I have yet to try the tom yum shrimp. And to be honest, I should have actually did a comparison between the spicy beef and just the regular Maruchan uh, beef flavor, but I actually just ran out of the beef flavored ramen, so I had already cooked it. I didn't even realize I still had a black garlic chicken left, so this is where we landed. But the reason I wanted to kind of do this is I wanted to kind of tell you guys. So I eat a lot of ramen noodles, like a crazy amount of ramen noodles. I love ramen noodles. I love different flavors, the way different types of them, different methods of cooking them. So I really wanted to kind of play on, well, I guess not play, but I really wanted to kind of explore how this ramen IMMI, which is supposed to be um, plant-based. It's this one in particular, it's plant-based with 24 grams of protein, 5 grams of net carbs. Um, it's supposed to be like super, super healthy for you. Now, some of the claims that they have is kind of interesting to me because I remember seeing the commercial and they kind of talk about a lot of these ramens are made with high sodium. But I feel like, in my personal opinion, like this is who they're trying to compete with. Um, Maruchan. I mean, you're definitely paying a premium for this one just because the protein, the plant base, and and it's kind of new to market. But I feel like this is the one. If you're not a ramen connoisseur, I guess you're really just going to be getting Maruchan or like cup noodle or any one of those. You might go with like Nissan. Now this one's this particular Nissan here. This is a Nissan Rao. This is probably my favorite instant ramen. I love the taste of this, but you're probably not going to be getting a lot. Like you're not going to compare, you're not going to be getting any of the the super super obscure ramen noodles, and these aren't even really the most obscure ramen noodles. These, a lot of these are sold in at Walmart, Target, Kroger, um, your grocery store. The more obscure ones are going to be these ones on the top right, whereas some of these ones, again, you can find these at your local grocery store. Now Emmy, that's where I think these two are the ones that are competing. I don't think it competes with any of the other ramen brands in terms of like portions. So I kind of want to use this one as an example. But even then, this one only has 760 milligrams, right? 33% of sodium, whereas the Emmy one has 900. Um, Now I don't, that's technically like I'm not a scientist. I don't really know any of like the complexities of sodium. I do know, like, I think sodium is supposed to be like electrolytes. I could be wrong, but it does have the 24 grams of protein, which is pretty substantial. This, I don't even think this has protein at all. No, not at all. But potassium, this has 730 milligrams. Calcium, it has 70 milligrams. Iron, 4.6 milligrams. This one, I mean, the only real thing it has is iron, right? 2.6, but potassium, calcium doesn't. So this one already, in terms of, you know, the vitamins and minerals, it definitely has more. Let's see, total fats. it has a little bit higher total fats at 18 grams versus Maruchan's 14. Now, and again, this isn't like a good 1-to-1 ratio because this is chicken flavored versus the beef flavored. But if we do look at the chicken flavored here, the black garlic chicken, and kind of compare it to Maruchan's, again, the information is just about the same. Calcium 330, potassium 650, which is, again, this doesn't have any calcium. This doesn't have any potassium. This has 330, right? 330 milligrams and 650 milligrams of potassium. So this one has a pretty hefty amount of vitamins in it. But it's not necessarily about the health benefits, right? It's about the taste. And I think that's, for me, what I kind of wanted to make this review on. Because for me, I bought this because I saw a commercial. I guess I saw a clip of it on Instagram. I think it was like a Reels, or maybe even Facebook. I was just scrolling through and I saw it. And in a lot of people, and you know, it might have been on TikTok too, but a lot of people that I saw online in terms of those ads, they really kind of emphasize like the texture of the noodle. They emphasize the flavor of the broth, and I wanted to do a review on how the actual taste is. So in case somebody did want to get one of these, wanted to get a variety pack, what they could kind of expect. So we'll go ahead and we'll start off with the actual IMMI spicy beef. So this is the IMMI spicy beef here. See if I can focus up on this. I think it's focused. Yeah, so this is the IMMI spicy beef. So you can definitely see there's like the oils in the broth. That's pretty synonymous with a lot of soups. Uh, so that's a pretty good sign, at least in my opinion. You don't want anything that kind of looks too far different. But right off the bat, looking at the texture of the noodles, it doesn't look like the same. Like, it doesn't look like it held or retains water, right? Some of these noodles are still kind of put together. And I did cook them both the same way. I cooked them on the stove for about 4 minutes each. On about, my temperature goes up to high, but I think underneath that it goes from like 0 to 10 realistically, right? So I cooked it at about a 7, both of them, for about 4 minutes, and then added the sauce after I poured the noodles and the water in each bowl, and then I added the broth and kind of let it kind of sit and soak in. So the noodles themselves should have, like, it doesn't look like it's retaining a lot of liquid. It looks kind of firm, which that's perfectly fine. There are some noodles that I have that actually do the same thing. But in terms of the flavor, one thing I do remember when I first had this is it definitely tastes like, I don't know if you've ever had the protein cereals, and how it, you know, I had a ghost cereal, which I think it was like the peanut butter crunch. It's supposed to emulate the Reese's peanut butter cereal, and it did not taste the same at all. It had that kind of grainy taste, and that's kind of what I get from these noodles, is almost like a grainy taste. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they taste bad, because they do retain the flavor, but I just wanted y'all to be kind of aware of that. But we'll go ahead and dive into the actual tasting. So, okay. So, noodle wise, yeah, I mean, it does not at all taste like those noodles. Let me grab some of this noodles to kind of see that texture difference before this soaks up any more of the broth. All right, so I can immediately taste the difference in terms of the softness of these noodles versus the softness of these. When you bite into the IMMI noodles, it's kind of like the difference between biting into white bread and wheat bread, right? Uh, where when you have wheat bread, there is this kind of graininess to it. Let me see. I don't think it has any problems retaining flavor. It's definitely soaking up the flavor of the broth. But the overall texture of the noodles, it's actually pretty good if you kind of if you separate the idea of what traditional ramen is. Like it's almost because I'm thinking when I eat a lot of ramen, I have a tendency to kind of make my ramen a little bit softer. This is almost like a firm ramen. So like if you were to cook, I guess in a normal packet, it tells you if you want more of a chewy taste, cook it for about 3 minutes, and if you want a softer taste, cook it for about 4 minutes. Even though I cooked this for about 4 minutes, it still has a chewy kind of taste, and I actually don't mind it at all. I kind of like it. Now I don't know. I mean, it has to be right. The noodles have to be the protein part of it, because certainly it's not in the broth. Um, Now I will say it doesn't really taste spicy to me. Um, but I mean, I do eat a lot of different spicy ramens, and I eat a lot of spicy foods in general. So I don't know if I'm just not tasting the spice. It tastes like regular beef to me. So one thing I'll say is it's better. In full honesty, it's better than going from a regular cereal to a protein cereal. Um, that difference is dramatic, right? That difference is like just insanely dramatic. Like I can't even eat a lot of my protein cereals that I've bought because um like smell wise, they smell the exact same. Like they smell like if I get Fruity Loops and I get the Fruity Loops protein alternative, it smells exactly the same. But as soon as I pour it in the bowl, pour my milk and start eating it, it's that texture that kind of just does not jive with me really well. Um, and same goes with a lot of other like protein alternatives. I've had protein cookies, I've had protein jerkies, I've had protein stuff. This is probably the closest like protein rich, or I guess like protein specific alternative to something that I love eating, which, again, which I love eating ramen noodles. And this is definitely not like protein rich at all. And that's very apparent with the type of noodles they are. I mean, you can definitely taste the protein in it. So it looks like it's pea protein, wheat, gluten, food starch, modified, sustainable palm oil. Um, so there's a lot of interesting. I mean, like how different is those ingredients? Okay, well, right off the bat, the amount of ingredients in the regular ramen noodles is substantial compared to like this small kind of paragraph. Um, but having said that, yeah, I mean, for me, I like this a lot actually. Um, I think that if you're going to buy this as a replacement to your ramen noodles, that's definitely not what it's intended for. This is intended for a protein alternative, and at least this is my opinion. This is intended as a protein alternative to a protein shake, a protein, or like right after the workout, you want a carbo load, right? If you want a carbo load, um, you want to up your protein intake. This is something super simple, 4 minutes to make. You're getting 20, 23 grams, 24 grams of protein. I mean, I could probably eat all three of these packets in one sitting, and that's like what, 75 grams of protein just right there. Um, Now, I did pay about like $36 for six, yeah, six pack. So, I mean, if you think about this being like 50 cents and or even less than that, I think this is like 30 cents, right? Whereas this is definitely not 30 cents. That's something that you have to consider is maybe you kind of mix it in. Maybe you mix the noodles in. with some of the other noodles that you have. I think that would be a good idea too. So you can still get the protein, but you can still also get, um, feeling of being full, because this alone isn't really filling to me. Um, but again, flavor wise, I think it is good, at least for the spicy beef. And I'll do a black garlic chicken and the tom yum shrimp one again later on. But in terms of this, I think that if you're going to go into it knowing that it's not going to taste exactly like the regular ramen, but it's still pretty delicious, I think you'll be fine. I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and then we can kind of again do some comparisons and my final thoughts. So, because of how the noodles are, they tend to stick together, which is nice because one problem that I have eating a lot of ramen is I get all of those like excess noodles down in the broth. I don't seem to be having that issue with this. So, broth wise, it is very flavorful actually. Um it doesn't taste like the broth from some of the other noodles that I've eaten. I'm trying to kind of pinpoint the flavor. Like, it's definitely beef flavored. I almost want to say it's thicker. I almost want to say it's thicker than regular broth. There's actually a lot more than I thought there was going to be. Like, I put 2 cups, and I like, it doesn't look like there was a lot of liquid, but man, there is. So maybe I couldn't eat all 3. Maybe 2. 2 for sure. All right. So that's the IMMI spicy beef. That's kind of my review on it. I'm gonna eat some of this chicken flavored Maruchan and see kind of like, since this is kind of fresh on my mind right now, I kind of want to see an immediate change. Like, okay, what is this going to taste like going from that to this? So I'm gonna drink some water to kind of palate cleanse real quick. Okay, so let's dig in. All right. So this ramen, I mean, this is just simple Maruchan ramen. The noodles themselves retain so much flavor, right? It retains so much flavor. You can tell by the level of liquid that's left, is a lot of that liquid is going straight into the noodles. So every time I bite, I'm getting almost like a gush of that chicken broth. Whereas with the IMMI, it's almost like it just kind of glazes over the top of the noodles themselves. It doesn't really soak in the broth. And that's probably why I felt like there was a lot of broth left at the end. Definitely cooking them for about the same length. A lot more softer. Almost like where the IMMI noodles, I really had to chew. The Maruchan, I can almost kind of just press my tongue up against the roof of my mouth and split the noodles apart. And I mean, that's really only the case for these noodles. A lot of the other noodles that I eat, the more premium ones, they don't have that kind of softness. Not to say that that's a bad thing. It just, it's a lot like the more premium noodles have a thicker, um I guess it tastes a lot different in my opinion. Let's kind of take another bite. And you can still see like a lot of these are still stuck together. So it's not like that's unique only to IMMI. And a lot of these noodles are going to be kind of stuck together sometimes too. That's just what happens when you get instant noodles. Some of these that aren't instant, like these ones, I guess these, like, you cook this very similar to how you cook like spaghetti, right? Same with this. The noodles aren't kind of like, they're just, I don't know how to describe that actually, but these ones, I like these ones, especially if I'm making a really, really big meal. Let's say I have meat, I have some, eggs. I have like, I have here seaweed. I usually put seaweed in my ramen noodles. Um, this one, for example, this is cheese ramen noodles. So like, I'll put kind of cheese in my ramen noodles. This one's really good. I have a bunch of shrimp, like actual whole shrimp, in my freezer. They're jumbo shrimp. I believe they're jumbo shrimp. Yeah. So the jumbo shrimp. What I might do, because I actually have two of these left. What I might do is I might do a video where I eat this on its own, and then I eat another one where I added shrimp to see just how much it changes the consistency, or I guess the experience of it. Because I think a lot of the times too, ramen noodles are very, very plain, and so it's adding all those extra ingredients that really, really kind of make the noodles themselves just kind of more vibrant in terms of flavors. You have the flavor of the eggs, you have the flavor of the pork cutlet, the shrimp, the vegetables, So let's kind of eat some more of this. We're getting to the end of the ramen bowl, and you can already see that that the level of the broth is nowhere near the level that the IMMI broth was. And this is actually what I was talking about the little stragglers of ramen pieces. I didn't really get that with the IMMI ramen at all. And my best guess is because since the IMMI ramen had a more chewy texture, the noodles themselves didn't kind of break apart as easily. You really did have to chew. Whereas I think even just by stirring the ramen noodles, you're kind of breaking them apart in terms of the Maruchan one. So another interesting take, and this might be just the chicken flavor. Um, the IMMI one didn't take the broth. Sorry, the IMMI broth didn't taste as salty as this. Like, you can definitely, as soon as the broth touches your tongue, there's this immediate like sodium, like sodium, right? Which is kind of weird because the chicken flavored Maruchan ramen packaging says it has less, like almost 200 milligrams, right? 200 grams, maybe, I think. 200 milligrams. Yeah, so this has almost, okay, you know what? I read that completely wrong. Um, I read that completely wrong. So, it's double. Like, it is actually double the ramen, or the sodium. This sodium is like nearly 1,600 milligrams, whereas like the IMMI one is like 900. Okay, so, and I'll put like a description, or I'll put like a caption in my video, because man, yeah, I was absolutely wrong. No wonder this has a very strong sodium taste, because it is almost double the amount of sodium. And that's probably why that broth tasted a bit unusual to me, is I'm so used to just getting hit with an immediate flavor of salt, right? But I wasn't. It was, and that wasn't a terrible experience. It was really just kind of like, oh, is this it? It kind of almost tasted watered down, but it was very potent, right? So it almost had that watered down taste, but full flavor, instead of just like the watered down taste where you can kind of taste the broth, but also kind of taste the water. IMMI's ramen, you taste the broth without any of like that watery taste, but it kind of has like a watered down, you know, taste only because of how little sodium that you're actually drinking. Okay, so I had both of them. Both of them super delicious. Put this to the side quick. All right, so my closing thoughts on IMMI Ramen is the flavor is definitely there. Um, but do not expect it to be the same kind of flavor like you would get on some of the other ramens that you've tried. Especially like if you try the spicy beef, the broth itself is going to taste like beef. This tastes like beef without extra salt and extra seasoning. It's honestly just like if you use half a packet of Maruchan beef, that's probably what the broth tastes like. I mean, and that's very synonymous with the fact that, bro, this has double the sodium as this one, right? So, I mean, I say double. It's only like 700 milligram difference, but it's like I'm 200 off. But still, it's it's way lower. It's closer to just half a serving. So I tried the spicy beef, but there is also the black garlic chicken, and this again, this is a variety volume one. Black garlic chicken, the tom yum shrimp. Um, I'm kind of excited to try the black garlic chicken. I may do, because this is a chicken flavor, I may do a direct comparison between the chicken flavored black garlic chicken and then just a regular or regular chicken for the Maruchan one, the beef one. I'm actually kind of surprised because so this is like an orange color, right? And Maruchan and even I believe Nissan's, it's blue, right? Like they use blue for their beef. Or red. Is it red? It might be red. I think it's red. Blue might be just like the oriental flavor. I don't remember actually. Um, but I'm surprised they use this kind of color because this does kind of match that orange for the chicken. And this chicken doesn't really match that orange. So it's just like it's unrelated, but it's just something I wanted to kind of bring up, or at least I noticed. Um, yeah, so the IMMI noodles, the IMMI ramen noodles, I think they're absolutely honest when it comes to it being different, right? It is a different ramen noodle. I think it definitely has a place in my collection of ramen noodles to eat. Um, I saw that they sell this on Amazon. I hope these come to stores. I don't know if they are yet as of today. Um, but I ordered mine directly from IMMI. And again, a six pack of it, it's like $36. So it is kind of pricey, especially when you have ramen, like premium ramen brands, like again, the Nissan Rao. This is like $2, maybe less than $2, like $1.50. And this is probably one of the best ramens I've ever had. Bulldog ramen is also good. The I just ate all of the. I had like the what is it the Quadro queso. I ate all of that. That's super delicious. But this one too, this one's super delicious. And honestly, man, this is like I want to say I paid like $1.50 for this one too. And so when you have a lot of these ramens that are exceptionally tasty for a fraction of the cost, you kind of have to ask yourself, you know, is it worth it? In my opinion, I do think it is worth it only because it does have the 24 grams of protein. And that's the one thing that these other ramens are missing. You, where to get the protein intake for some of these ramens, you really have to add the protein yourself. So you either have to add your meats, or or your vegetables, and by doing that, it's no longer just the ramen out of packaging. It's you've created kind of a ramen dish. Whereas this, you're getting the protein straight out of the package without having to add any meats. So there is a definite benefit. And if you think about it in the like cost effectiveness, to get the same amount of protein that you would get in IMMI, you would have to get some kind of meat. And now meat is not generally super expensive, but depending on what kind of meat you get, chicken's going to be a lot cheaper. Beef is going to be like average pricing. Like it's not going to be overly expensive depending on what kind of meat you get. So, if let's say this is, hypothetically this is $3 and the Nissan Row is 150, is it worth spending $1.50 more for not having to prepare meat to put in your ramen to get that 24 grams of protein? I would say so. In a bind, for sure, right? If I'm leaving the gym, I need something quick to eat. I could throw, especially like I could throw one of these in my backpack, right? And I would be getting my calorie, or not my calorie, but my protein intake without having to do anything. Like these would be perfect for a workplace, right? Because it's like, oh, I want that protein, but I don't want to have to like make like a whole thing. So I think it's awesome. I think it's really good. Again, you just kind of have to go into it knowing that it's not going to taste like the the ramens that you've seen. I don't think the ads are lying to you, um, but the ads to me kind of make it seem like it's going to taste exactly like some of these, and that's just not true. It's its own unique flavor, and it's actually really good. So, I hope you guys will like this video. Definitely leave a comment in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and follow me for more content. So thanks everyone. I hope you guys liked it. See you on the next one.